Welcome to Paradiso 33, the end of the Divine Comedy. We're skipping straight to the end. My name is Terry Quinn, and this is my friend and my colleague Chuck Hussung, and we are both high school English teachers at St. Louis University High School in St. Louis. Under normal circumstances, we like to talk to each other about poetry in between classes. Our desks adjoin one another in the office, and now we're doing that remotely and welcoming you to that conversation. We are in Canto 33 of Paradiso. We have come on a long journey, even if you have jumped straight in at this stage. Dante himself has come on a long journey, and we as readers have come on a long journey. And I guess what's important to know is that having traversed the universe, Dante has this series of visions outside of time and space. It's all really one vision of God, but it's a vision that takes place in stages, almost like kind of like those old rocket launches where the booster rockets fall away one at a time in order to launch the astronaut out of orbit and into deep space. And so that's what's happening for Dante, sort of spiritually here. And we want to jump into one part of the vision in particular, when Dante imagines what it would be like to perceive the Holy Trinity. And I'm gonna read the passage in Italian, and then I'm gonna ask Chuck to read it in English, and talk a little bit about his personal connection to this passage. So we are on line 115. Nella profonda e chiara sussistenza dell'alto lume parveremi tre giri di tre colori ed una contenenza, e l'un dall'altro come iri da iri parea riflesso, e il terzo parea fuoco, che quinci e quindi ugualmente si spiri.
And in the English of the Durling-Martinez translation, in the profound and clear subsistence of the deep light, I saw three circles of three colors and of one circumference. And one seemed reflected by the other like a rainbow by a rainbow, and the third seemed fire, breathing equally from both. In October 2018, my wife passed away, and some memorial money came to me that I needed to do something with, and I turned to a friend who is a glass artist and asked him if I gave him these two stanzas and asked him to make an icon of that for me. And it was quite a challenge for him, and he took it with great enthusiasm and produced what you'll be able to see here as I talk about it, an image of these three circles. I think of human love as Trinitarian, that in each human friendship, connection, couple, circle of friends, that there is you and me and the spirit of love created between us. And so this image of the Trinity also seemed to me an image of my wife and me, and our love that burned between us, burns still between us. So I gave that to Jeff, and he created two circles, blue and purple, reflecting each other as much as he could make, and then the third circle of fire, breathing forth almost in a new direction from circling with those two circles, but reaching outward and upward from those circles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And can you talk a little bit about how you call this image an icon, and I know from talking to you what that means to you. But can you talk a little bit about that? What does it mean to you to think of this image as an icon, and how has your perception deepened or changed as you've contemplated this image?
It hangs in my living room window and has hung there for maybe 7 months now. So I have seen it. It came in November. I saw it with winter light, winter sunrises. It's an east window. Spring light, the world turns green, and suddenly the background is green, and the green shines through some of the purple. And now summertime. And in each light, it's different, but it's also just through daily revisiting and peering at it, I see shapes and intersections between shapes and bubbles and certain kinds of light. Every bubble in the thing lights up like a constellation within the intentional image. There's this other thing that's created, and but also the logic of the artistry. I go to Jeff sometimes with questions. How was this created? And what was your thinking? And I just, as we return to any work of art that we choose, or a work that chooses us for inspiration, comfort, contemplation, I come back and it speaks to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is certainly a canto that I think a lot of us come back to again and again. I mean, this is very, very famous imagery, this famous ending, and of course the whole commedia has that iconic status, right? It's something that we come back to again and again. But I was also thinking that in this canto, really what Dante is literally doing, right, is staring into, contemplating this vision that he's having, right? That and reading it more and more deeply, right? So you have this experience of this piece of art that is inspired by this other piece of art, and the longer you look at it, the more it deepens your understanding of not only the work of art, but of this mystery of love that you've talked about. That work of art represents. And here's Dante depicting himself as someone who is looking into not just an icon of that mystery of love, but into the mystery of love itself, right? And and thinking of that as such an active thing. He doesn't just see God and, oh, that's what God looks like, and so now I'm done. But the longer he looks, the more he notices. He's at pains to say the vision itself, it doesn't change, but my perception changed and deepened as I stood there. You should feel free to cut me off and jump in, but there's another thing that I also wanted to shift a little bit, because this is such a profoundly personal experience that for you, right? And one of the things that we had sort of talked about as maybe a theme for what we're addressing here is the idea of art as a response to grief. Actually, did you want to say a little bit about your sense of Dante's grief and loss and how it shows up in this poem?
Right. It is always, every canto I read, I think of him as an exile, a man exiled from his city, and that political divisions that were tearing that city apart cast him out, and I believe he rests in Ravenna and not in Florence.
Yes.
So, Beatrice, who dies young and is lost to him in that way, and yet he seems to have not let her go despite her death. And so that feeling to me that, he leaves her behind in the 33rd canto, but I can't imagine that she's not there with him either.
Right. Yeah.
In that vision, even though she's been left, she's still there.
Right, because they're looking at the same thing, right? That that Beatrice resumes her place among the saints so that she can contemplate this same vision that Dante now is vouchsafed, and so their unity consists in the having the same vision, right? And since you brought up then this kind of the political nature of Dante's exile, the this idea of the city of Florence in turmoil, I always come back to Canto 6 of the Inferno, the question, right? What will happen to the cittadini della città partita, right? The citizens of the divided city. And that, since this is Dante in our time is the time of the divided city, right? We are living in a nation that's deeply divided. We've seen that in the grief of the coronavirus, the pain and suffering that's caused in this pandemic, but also the injustices that were exposed through the pandemic and its sort of unequal effect on different parts of our population, and then this subsequent sort of outcry for greater justice and equity for people of color. And so it seems to me that this vision that is a response to grief, a consolation that comes out of grief, is also an important vision for our time. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how to say this, but your idea of the Trinity, of all love being sort of Trinitarian, and Dante's vision of the Trinity, it seems that that could be said of the way that we relate to each other, not only in our personal relationships, but this sort of larger social body that we're all a part of, right? That there's myself and the other, and then this larger unity that we're striving towards, and we feel the pain of that larger unity not being there, of that sort of third part of the triangle of relationship being absent,
and that transcendent vision, which feels upward and away from humanity. Dante never really lets it be away from humanity, and it's this vision that I love, that he says he's asking that his tongue be so powerful that it may leave a single spark of God's glory to the people yet to be. And I think, okay, that's me. That makes me feel loved and foreseen. But the vision that he gives us doesn't just go up and stay there, but then it pulls in our effigy, so that the human form becomes a part of it, and it, 114,000 deaths, American deaths. I don't have the figure worldwide in my head. All these deaths, and a poem that speaks to us of love transcending death. That feels, to me, it speaks to this time, and that vision that he attains is through human helping human. That there's a solidarity that is achieved through seeing the people trapped in their troubles and the people striving to get out of the traps that hold so many, and then this transcendent movement, but not through effort, but through love and help and connection. He's lifted up to this great place, and that feels to me our nation yearning toward a love that is just, not a love that says be quiet and go back to your corner and leave things peaceful, but a love that acknowledges everyone, draws everyone in.
Yeah, and it seems like the way that we can imagine that, since it is otherworldly, right? To imagine a justice and a unity and a harmony that are is so clearly not present in the world right now in such stark ways. It seems, that this is why we turn to poetry, right? I mean, you and I turn to poetry by temperament, but there's it seems like part of what Dante is demonstrating for us is that poetry strives in language to find that vision that is beyond language, right? Which maybe we should read the end and hear just a little bit more of that poetry. Just these famous last 4 lines. All'alta fantasia che mancò posa, ma già volgeva il mio desio e belle, sì come rotta che ugualmente è mossa, l'amor che muove il sole e le altre stelle. I have to apologize to all the Italian teachers out there for my Italian, but this final image, right, of getting sort of reaching a kind of failure in which I cannot understand what I'm seeing, and then Dante sort of turning inward and saying, my gosh, in some ways I don't need to understand what I'm seeing. I am what I'm seeing, right? I see the incarnation in this vision. I see the human effigy in the divine, and now I feel the divine moving inside my own humanity. So the incarnation that's out there comes in here. So I guess this is why we have icons, right? That we contemplate something that not only we hope we can see through to other things, but that we can also become. Is that the at my back? I always hear Times Winged Chariot drawing.
Yes.
Ormai sarà più corta mia favela. Now my speech must become brief. I think we are kind of getting to the end of our time. Do you have anything to add?
I'm grateful for the conversation and glad that you invited me. I'm grateful to the Dante Society of America for giving us the chance to talk about these beautiful things.
Thank you, Chuck.